Looks like Secret Wars has found their directors.
The Alien series officially has a title.
Will Doctor Who be renewed for a third season at Disney, or is that deal on the brink of collapsing?
And of course, we look at this week's crazy box office.
All of that on this week's episode of the Movie Nights Roundtable. Hello, Nicholas. How are you?
Good. How are you, my friend?
Not bad, not bad. Just, another week. Some decent news stories this week.
I know. Are you excited for your trip coming up there?
I am excited.
Yeah.
I will be at San Diego Comic-Con. Not as, press or anything. We're not that popular yet. But I'm going as a fan, or technically, as a professional.
Oh, look at us.
But no, I'm really looking forward to going. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're definitely going to be doing at least one video while we're out there, whether it be a review for something or an episode of the show. But yeah, anything.
Wow, there's not a big movie coming out next week.
Yeah, no. But we'll have that review for you very soon. Also, I'm pretty sure we have to do a video after the Saturday Hall Age.
Probably.
We have to. But
emergency session.
Yeah, emergency Zoom call for sure. But yes, looking forward to that. As for Deadpool and Wolverine, that embargo drops. It's either Tuesday or Wednesday. I have the email. I have to look, but I will have seen the full movie by the embargo, and the review will be up by said embargo. So I'm very excited about that.
Absolutely.
And with that down, we got some cool news stories to dive into, Nicholas.
Yes, pivoting right off of Marvel, the Russo Brothers could not live with their own failure. So where did that lead them? Possibly back to Marvel.
That is true. So the Hollywood Reporter is reporting, as many other outlets are, that the Russo Brothers are in talks to but to direct the next two Avengers movies, Avengers 5 and 6, one of them being, of course, Avengers Secret Wars. And this comes off the heels of when Sean Levy was offered the gig, but Deadline has reported that he turned down the gig to focus on his Star Wars movie that he wants to make. Little does he know that it won't happen. But, so, and apparently they talked to a list of filmmakers about who they want to do, and then eventually just settled back on Anthony and Joe Russo. And what I find interesting about this is kind of a perfect moment, because who knew after Endgame, who knew that it would come to a situation where both Marvel and the Russos were struggling somewhat equally to be like, maybe we should just work together again, because we were doing pretty good for a minute there.
Yeah.
And because literally you're at a point where, Deadpool and Wolverine's going to make a lot of money, seemingly. That could age poorly. I doubt it, though. Where Marvel has been taking a lot of criticism for its quantity of projects and said quality of the quantity of projects. Mm-hmm. You have the Russo Brothers, who every film that they've made post-Endgame without Marvel has been disappointing at best. And now you're at a point where, look, clearly they have a relationship that works really well. They've made some of the best movies in the MCU. To me, Captain America Civil War is the best movie in the MCU. Let's just work together and do it again.
I would probably argue Infinity War, but
same people.
It's the same people.
Yeah,
It's like we're just arguing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's semantics at that point.
Yeah.
But, I think this is, I know that the choice gets some criticism for being safe and all that. I think it's a good idea, especially going into a movie that's going to be unprecedented in scale. It's going to be something that a new director to this world would be very overwhelmed by. It doesn't matter how veteran you are. Mm-hmm. And also, this team of directors already has a great relationship with the OG Avengers. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted those people to come back, which they likely will in Secret Wars, who better than to have the directors of the last film be like, hey, it's a family reunion over here. We're all coming back. Mm-hmm. I think it's a really good plan. I'm going to briefly take this from the Hollywood Reporter before I take it over to you. The hiring ends a months-long high-stakes search by the studio and for the filmmakers to oversee the 5th and 6th Avengers movies. Multiple names are in contention, including Deadpool and Wolverine director Sean Levy, who was offered the gig. Sources say the talks with the Russos are currently in the early stages. And as it goes on, and I think it was either Deadline or Variety, is reporting that Marcus McFeely might also come back too, which to me is more exciting, because I think their scripts for Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, how the fuck do you write those movies? And they did a phenomenal job. I couldn't imagine those movies being more different. Yeah. They even brought those writers in on other failing Marvel projects to try to help save them, like Thor: The Dark World and other things too. Mm-hmm. So it's clearly
they know what they're doing. Yeah,
100%. And so I really hope that that's true, because I think you can get the directors back all you want. You don't have that story. You don't crack that story. It's over. And this is from someone who's saying, I think Michael Waldron could have done a fine job. I know I get shit for that. But if you're asking me, and I'm being for real, Waldron or Marcus McFeely? Marcus McFeely, any day of the week.
Spades, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, throwing it to you now. I've taken up too much time.
Oh, you're kidding.
What do you think about this? Do you think this is a good idea?
I mean, there's some pros and cons. I mean, they know the world. They've made some of the best movies in it. They have really good working relationships with pretty much the entire cast in all the movies. A lot of their projects post MCU have been starring MCU actors. You know, they did Gray Man with Chris Evans.
Mm-hmm.
You had
And Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, you had Cherry with Tom Holland. You know, so they know the world. They know how to make movies in this. They know how to balance an ensemble. They know how to show the scale. They know how to give like each person their moment. The fight choreography's always been pretty good. You know, they know how to direct these movies. And listen, with the failure, you know, it kind of sucks going back to both their failures, right? Marvel's sort of reaching this point of criticism, the Russo brothers, their stuff criticism. So it's kind of sad to see like them both being like, oh, well, I guess we could better go back to what works, you know. It might be a controversial thing to say, but like I think that some people are just also just good comic book directors. And it's not to say you can't direct another movie, but sometimes it just works, you know. Like I would also maybe even put James Gunn in that category of like I think that he can knock it out of the park with comic book movies. And if that's what he wants to keep making and making about the quality, absolutely. And I'm with you. I think that Marcus McFeely coming back is exciting. The sort of downside just as a fan is, right, you were hoping maybe post this that we could be taking some more risks, you know, playing with some new things, getting some new talent, furnishing new talent, and even maybe just having a different choice for directing, you know, and not even necessarily like, you know, we talked about Sam Raimi maybe directing it. Like, you know, he's a very distinct visual director, you know, just having something a little more flair into it because I wouldn't describe the Russo brothers as like doing anything crazy behind the camera, you know, but if Marvel's at the point where they need to have a safe blockbuster that they know is going to get people in seats, and they can focus on the enhancement of the individual projects, and they don't have to worry about what the Russo brothers are doing, then it might be a good thing, because maybe now this is going to elevate the other projects.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely. And, you know, going to your point about the risk-taking, Marvel has found themselves in a position where they can't take risks.
Exactly.
And, but also to outside filmmakers. Outside filmmakers are looking at Marvel going, hey, 5 years ago, I would have quit any job to come work for you. Right now, I don't know if that's the best career move for me. And honestly, fair to them.
Yeah.
For, you know, that position. Because the early risks that they did take post-Endgame, like Eternals with Chloe Zhao, which, by the way, is a good movie. Fuck you guys. But not only that, but it came right at a point during the pandemic where it was poised to lose money from that anyway, and it got mixed reception. It was the first rotten movie that Marvel has, which is crazy. But, like, that's the reality of the situation. Yeah. So it's like you had one risk, it didn't pay off, and in a year with the pandemic, and then it was followed up by a bunch of projects that fans did not really love. You know, whoops. Like, kind of, because I would even argue Shang-Chi was a risk that worked out, but since it worked out, it's not considered a risk. Kind of like when you look back at the first Guardians was a huge risk, but since it worked, it's not really considered a risk anymore.
But that's the thing. Like, I did like the idea of Dustin Daniel Cretton directing Avengers 5.
Yes.
You know, so it's sort of like stuff like that, but I get, you know, if he wants to focus on Shang-Chi 2 or the Wonder Man series or his other projects, then let him, because I know that he's going to produce a different quality. And it's like with an Avengers movie, right, those are the movies that are going to have the most studio interference, right? Those are the ones where the studio heads are in, you know, everyone's got final say on everything. So if that limits your ability as a creative to take those sort of wanting to do something different, then I don't blame a director for going on to another Marvel project.
Yeah.
And allowing them to focus there, and them just being like, all right, well, the Russo brothers have this.
Yeah. Look, 100%. And, you know, watch them Saturday at Hall H announce just completely different directors for this movie.
Well, what I'm curious about, too, now, right? So, obviously, there was all the stuff with Jonathan Majors, right? He's no longer Kang. There's been rumors and speculation online that they have found a replacement. Maybe that's a big Hall H announcement.
Yeah.
But I'd be curious, right? Because they really tried to make it seem like Avengers Kang Dynasty, Avengers 5, and Avengers Secret Wars, different movies, right? Very separated. So I wonder if post this now they're going to take an Infinity War Endgame approach, and that's why they're having the Russo brothers. They're like, we can do these things back to back, like one big story. And that's what I'd be interested to see. Also, who the fuck the characters are going to be in these?
Yeah.
Who are the Avengers?
I think just knowing the lineup would be cool. I'm not saying Comic-Con has to announce that.
Yeah.
But, like, as a fan, what would I like to see announced at Comic-Con? I would like to know who the lineup is.
Like, here's at least 5 of the Avengers.
Yeah.
We can call it there.
Yeah. And maybe we find that out in an upcoming movie. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we find that out in Brave New World.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, obviously, Sam Wilson Captain America.
Yeah,
you
of
know,
course. Yeah.
I assume
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is probably meddling around.
Yeah.
But like I just want confirmation.
No, I feel you. I feel you spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you guys think? Do you think the Russo brothers are the right pick to come back and direct Avengers 5 and 6, or do you think it should have been somebody else? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. And Nicholas, what do you got for us next?
Our next story comes to us from Variety, and that is that FX's Alien series, which has apparently wrapped filming already,
Yeah.
has officially gotten a title, and that is Alien Earth.
Yes, that is true. This is the Alien series that Noah Hawley's been working on for quite some time. I remember a while ago this being announced. And hell yes. Not only do we get Alien Romulus, which looks rad as hell coming out in
Great.
August. I can't wait. Tickets are secured. But now this series. Now, I have no idea how this series ties into the continuity of Alien, if that even exists because of some different discrepancies, or if this is just going to be kind of considered like a spin-off, one-off Alien thing. Regardless, I'm excited as hell. And Alien Earth, bitchin' title, because it obviously implies that the xenomorphs are going to be on Earth, which, please do this. And it's just funny because Alien 3, when the teasers came out for it, it was teased straight up in the trailers that like the threat is coming to Earth. And at no point in Alien 3 do they go to Earth.
It's much like Jason Takes Manhattan, where he's in Manhattan for 10 minutes at the end of the movie.
Exactly. So if the title, if what the title is implying is that they're going to be on Earth, it's going to be very cool to see because it's going to be kind of a long-term thing that people have wanted to see for a really long time. So I'm going to pull from Variety here.
Yeah.
Quoting Noah Hawley, we just wrapped production, so now I'm into the long post that gets into visual effects. It's a very big show. It's nice to have some time with it. The first year of anything, you want to feel like you're not up against the wall in terms of time. I've seen 4 of the 8 hours of director's cuts and engaged in the process of figuring out cinematically what it wants to be. It's one of my favorite parts of making a show. Oh, we actually have a thing about when it takes place. Alien Earth serves as a prequel to the Ridley Scott 1979 film Alien.
Oh.
Interesting.
All right.
Interesting. So I wonder where it's going to take place in terms of the Prometheus and Alien Covenant timeline.
Mm-mm.
This is interesting. And how were they on Earth before? We didn't know about them. Fuck them. I bet Earth is the name of a fucking ship. I bet you that's what it is.
It's probably going to end up being that.
Either way, though, I'm finding that out just now. So that's interesting. Regardless, Nicholas, what do you think about this? Are you excited about this?
I mean, yeah, I think it's a great time to be an Alien fan. I know that Covenant and Prometheus sort of came out with sort of mixed reception on it, and it looks like Alien Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez,
Yes.
which is just a great sentence to hear. Really seems to be hype and kind of going back to the roots of this original. And an Alien TV show I'm on board for. More specifically, the fact that Noah Hawley's involved. Those that may not be familiar with him, he produced, directed, showran Fargo on FX, which had like 5 or 6 seasons now. But more importantly, he did the show Legion.
Fuck yes, he did.
Which is an incredible show. Noah Hawley has a very distinct style, in my opinion, which is more where I'm curious how that fits into an Alien type thing, because he's done a lot of like, Legion wasn't a comedy, but visually it was very out there, which I think was interesting, and I'm curious how that'll mesh with the Alien. You know, I hear Fede Alvarez Alien. My mind, I know exactly what that looks like.
Yeah.
Noah Hawley's Alien, no idea what that looks like, but that's what intrigues me about it. You know, like I am excited about that concept. Plus, it has Timothy Olyphant in the cast, and I love him.
100%. No, I'm with everything you just said, and I am really looking forward to the show. I hope it's good, and it makes me think about the Neil Blomkamp Alien movie that was just scrapped by Ridley Scott, basically. But I was very curious. It was going to be a direct sequel to Aliens.
Okay.
And like Sigourney Weaver was going to come back. They were going to retcon. Newt was going to be alive. Like they were going to do the whole thing. There was concept art, everything, and then it just got scrapped. I don't remember exactly why it got scrapped, but I know Ridley Scott wasn't happy about it because I think they were still making Alien Covenant at the time. And but I was also really curious about that. And I know this has nothing to do with the show, but just thinking about Alien got me thinking about like alternate movie history there.
Yeah.
But yeah, regardless, what do you guys think of the title Alien Earth and that the fact that it's wrap production and the fact that it's a prequel, which I learned just now? This is what happens, kids, when you don't read the full articles before the show. Shame on me. Let us know in the comments below what you think as we move on to our final news topic of the day before moving on to the box office. Nicholas, what's our final story?
Our last story comes to us from Deadline. Wow, look at us this episode. Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and Deadline. We got the big three.
We got him. We got him.
Never get that.
Nope.
This story comes to us from Deadline. It's not really a news story. It's more of like a, what do you call it, like an opinion piece or an analysis. But it's Doctor Who's regeneration. Has the Disney gamble paid off?
So basically, this may come as a surprise to some of you, but I'm a massive Doctor Who fan. Nicholas likes the show as well. And I think it's safe to say that the season 1 of the new Doctor Who with Ncuti Gatwa was decent. It was okay. There were some episodes that were great. There were some episodes that weren't that good. And there were a lot of episodes that were just okay. But I think ultimately, what could have been the make or break of the season was the finale. And while I thought the finale was okay, I think it's safe to say that most people did find it underwhelming, especially for the story that it was building. Now, Deadline has kind of taken a research introspection because they've already shot the second season because it was a 2-season purchase. And the Christmas special comes out later this year. But Deadline kind of wanted to dive into this and take a look at the numbers and say, hey, has this gamble paid off? Because, look, even if Disney decides they don't want a third season on Disney+, BBC is not going to fucking cancel Doctor Who out of nowhere like this. They would have to do significantly poorly. And the show's already doing better than it did in the previous era with, Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker. So, I think it's safe at the BBC.
Yeah.
But for Disney, what is the situation there? Because they have a lot of money, and you better perform a certain way if we're going to be a part of Disney, especially with how good the show looks. So pulling from Deadline here, I will be reading a lot from this article just to kind of give the full picture, so hear me out. Following the conclusion of the first Disney BBC Doctor Who season several weeks ago, Deadline has taken the opportunity to analyze its performance both locally and across the pond, its critical reception, and just what the future has in store for the deal. Noises that it may not last beyond the initial 2 seasons are already reverberating around international TV circles, and one source close to production tells us that they feel its future hangs in the balance already. Disney, the BBC, and co-producers BBC Studios and Bad Wolf all declined interview requests for this article. The article goes along to say that a lot of people at Disney have felt that the ratings are disappointed by the ratings of the show, saying that it came in 7th behind Marvel and Star Wars. I get it and I don't. Because one, did you really think season 1 of Doctor Who was going to be more than the Marvel and Star Wars shows?
Yeah.
And it was 7th overall across all of Disney+. And apparently the only thing ahead of it were Marvel, Star Wars, and The Simpsons. Because Simpsons apparently is just always in the top fucking 5 for Disney+. Apparently.
Interesting.
Yes.
For them.
So
Simpsons did it.
So to me, if I made a show and you're like, oh, the only thing beating you is The Simpsons, Star Wars, and Marvel, I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude.
Fair. Yeah.
But at the same time, it is Doctor Who. It's an IP that's been around for a long time. But with that being said, to me, what were your expectations for the first season, especially when the show was kind of on the decline ratings-wise at the BBC before this? Did you think it was going to be in the top 3? To me, that was never ever going to happen.
Yeah. Ever.
Even with, because basically, when you split the ratings between Disney and BBC, it's not doing as well as it did in the prime Matt Smith era when the show was an international phenomenon.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was going to be from season 1, Now, granted, where I'm kind of with them is you needed to knock this season out of the park to really save it. And I don't think the season did. I don't think it was a bad season, but I don't think it knocked it out of the park, in a way that's just beyond phenomenal.
Yeah.
Which, if you're going to have ratings that to you are disappointing, at least kill the fucking shit, kill the shit out of the story in a good way to where everyone's people slowly coming to it as time comes by. Because I feel like the Doctor Who core audience was always going to watch it, and it's never been an American staple anyway. Because the things that are above it are all cultural American staples.
Yeah.
So I get the disappointment. I understand if season 2 gets worse ratings-wise, I understand not renewing it, right? But they have to make that decision soon. Because season 2 has already been shot. It's going to air in early next year. And if they want to get started shooting season 3, they got to make a decision relatively soon. Maybe they wait to make that decision until season 2 starts airing and they look at the ratings then. Maybe. But I find it fascinating that, let's paint a picture of, let's say, Disney doesn't renew it for the 3rd season. What do you think happens to the show? 1. 2, do you think that these ratings are bad for Doctor Who? 3, what's just kind of your overall take on the situation?
I wonder what the legalities are if it doesn't get picked up for season 3 at Disney. does the BBC just air it as season 3? Like, how does that, or does it have
That's a
to
good
be
question.
a new genesis of a show?
Yeah.
Like, would they have to recast Shudigatwa? Would they have to just
Yeah.
write in that he regenerates back into himself, so
Yeah.
it is technically like a different doctor? You know,
Yeah.
like I wonder the legalities of that. I agree with you. I thought the season was just okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a step in a positive direction compared to previous seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to clarify that statement by saying that I love Jodie Whittaker,
Yes.
that she was a fantastic doctor. I was more disappointed in the quality of the show's writing and the storylines.
Yes.
Russell T Davis, I think, was a safe bet to bring back, much like the
Mhm.
Russo brothers with
Yeah.
Marvel, to tie it into an earlier thing. I don't think he did anything too out of the box, too out of the ordinary. It was typical Doctor Who, where I think you could watch one of the best episodes of television, followed by one of the worst.
Yep.
I think that a lot of the bad episodes were a little more front-ended this season,
Mm-hmm.
which I think was good. Like, I think that the 2-episode premiere could have been stronger.
Yeah.
That being said, I did love Jinx Monsoon as Maestro.
Me
I
too.
thought they gave a phenomenal performance, which is kind of that episode struck the best balance between the campiness of Doctor Who with
I
it.
fully agree with you.
But they're the Russell Stephen Moffat episode Boom, really good.
Mhm.
I think that I might even like 73 Yards more than Boom.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of it almost went a little more Black Mirror-y
Yeah.
this season than like true sci-fi, which was a risk, and I think sometimes it paid off there. I do really like Shudigatwa as the Doctor.
Me too.
I think he's phenomenal. Millie Gibson as Ruby Sunday. It's sort of a slow start, I think, but by the end I was sort of rooting for her. I think it was the payoff of the mystery just wasn't satisfying,
Yeah.
as was the build up to the finale of everything that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
While the episodes, they weren't bad, it was just a greater storyline where it's just like, this plot kind of fizzled out, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But I'm still openly excited for the next season. I'm very excited for the concept of Stephen Moffat writing another Christmas special, because Christmas specials are always great.
Yeah.
What was the other parts of your question?
Basically, if this does get canceled, I know you have questions about the
Yeah.
legality, but like in your mind, like what happens?
I think it just stays on BBC.
Yeah.
Where it's then hosted after, I don't know. Like, I don't know if Disney would not want to be involved on the production standpoint, but just being like, well, you can have it on our platform if you pay us.
Yeah.
But we're not giving you any money to do anything with it. But
Yeah.
if this is the streaming service of your choice, because where did Doctor Who used to live? Netflix?
So a while ago, it was on Netflix. The 2005 to 2022 show is on Max.
Okay.
And I know in the UK, there's like a streaming service called BBC iPlayer, and it has its own section called Whoniverse, where they have like Doctor Who and all the spin-offs on there.
Yeah, I could see it then just sort of going into a bidding war of who wants the streaming rights to it, and maybe Netflix or Disney does want to stay involved at that point as just that, or it'll go back to Max or Netflix.
Give it to Apple TV. Give it to Apple TV.
Honestly, I'd be down for Apple TV to go into the production side.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Where does the show exist now? Max?
The Shooty Got One's Disney Plus, the previous show Max.
Okay, so all the like Tenet, all that's on Max.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it just transfers over there. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see. I know next season 2 we're bringing in the actress who was in the episode Boom.
Mm-hmm.
She was also in Andor.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really known if she's playing the same character from this season or different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, I always like the show. I'm gonna keep watching it, obviously. Just hope they figure out some direction issues that they have.
No, I agree. And here's what I'll say. Because I think this does tie into ratings at the end of the day. Because I feel like if you make a great series, now with streaming more than ever, if you let a great show sit, even if it doesn't take off right away, if it's great, people will find it.
Mm-hmm.
The issue right now is this. And please keep in mind, this is coming from someone who is not on the same level of writing as these professionals are.
Yeah.
The 2 most talked about episodes of this season were Boom and Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 episodes not written by Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
If I'm Russell T Davies, I am seriously thinking about that. And season 2's done.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really change anything. But I would start to think okay, as a producer, I'm sure he's fucking thrilled that people are talking about the show in that way, right? Because he's always been a good producer.
Yeah.
He writes great. 73 Yards was a great episode.
Well, here would be my counter for that.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to finish and then I can?
Just briefly.
Yeah.
So basically, take that with how he speaks in interviews, where he says things like, "Oh yeah, like, I know that might, people. I've heard people say that's underwhelming, but it was talked about on Twitter all night, and the Disney people loved seeing that it was on Twitter, so I guess I did my job."
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's gonna rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And people just are hearing that and thinking, "Oh, are you just gonna not give satisfying conclusions to stories in exchange for views on Twitter?" And like, is that what you're doing? Because if you're doing that on purpose, like, it's almost like a verbal contract or a non-verbal contract with the audience. And if you break the contract that you're not going to give me a satisfying story in exchange for points on social media, I'm not going to watch your show. And like, I would just be careful of that, because that will eventually affect the ratings, which you need right now.
Yeah, it's like, are you more focused on delivering a good product of a show, or more focusing on reaching the requirements so that you can keep the Disney money?
Yeah.
When if it's on BBC, which it has been, with a lower budget, people are still watching it because your stories are good.
Yeah.
So I think it's this Doctor Who's never known what to do with money.
That's true.
That's just, I think that the season did a better job than the David Tennant specials.
Yeah.
With handling their budget and their scale and everything. But I've noticed that it's just an ongoing Doctor Who issue, is when they have a budget, they do not know what to do with it. But to sort of counter the 2 points with the episodes, right? I get it, but also you have to look at the episodes, right? So boom, Stephen Moffat's return to Doctor Who. And if you're a Doctor Who fan, that's the second coming of Christ.
Yeah.
Like, so naturally everyone has all eyes on that episode, right? You look at Rogue, Jonathan Groff.
Yeah.
People are probably going to talk about it because it's Jonathan Groff and everyone loves Jonathan Groff, So I feel like that, because like I don't even think Rogue's necessarily one of their better episodes this season. So I don't know about saying that it was Russell T Davies, like, writing was the issue there, because I think that the Jonathan Groff half of the episode was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think, we talked about, we did reviews on the show. I think the bird shapeshifters, again, Doctor Who, watching great and bad. There's no, so I feel like that was more talked about, not for the quality of the episode, but the fact that, like, they're like, hey, Jonathan Groff, and Jonathan Groff was great as the character. I'm actively excited for his return. Hopefully he does, But I feel like, because then if you look at 73 Yards, which Russell T Davies wrote, right? Great episode. I really liked Dot and Bubble.
Yeah.
So I think he did write solid episodes.
No, I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying, to me, the things that most people talked about, like, if I told you Matt Smith, Doctor Who era, what first comes to your mind? The only non-Moffat thing you say is maybe the Vincent Van Gogh episode.
Yeah.
But like everything else that you say, it's going to be the showrunners episodes. And, and with this, like, Russell wrote great episodes. I love 73 Yards. I love the ending to Dot and Bubble. I think the rest of the episode's decent. There are also people who don't like 73 Yards because of how it doesn't explain everything. Like for everything with that, basically just the online chatter that Russell T Davies claims to be really proud of. If you go in the online chatter, it's boom, Rogue, maybe a little bit of Ruby Sunday. But when you look at the comparison of, like, Russell T Davies, Doctor Who, what are people talking about? They're talking about how underwhelming the finale was. And it's like, you gotta...
That sort of thing, because now, and the wrong lesson to be taken away from it is, Stephen Moffat needs to write everything, which might not be a wrong lesson, actually, now that I'm saying it. Yeah. But then guest stars.
Yeah, right, wrong lesson, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, look, it's my favorite show of all time. I think Russell's a very good writer. I think he is a great producer. Excuse me. I just think that he's falling into a self-trap of trying to be a producer before a writer, and I think he has to be a writer first. I think that's the issue going on, personally. But with that being said, what do you guys think? Do you think Doctor Who will get renewed for Season 3 by Disney, or do you think it will just eventually just go back into the BBC? And I'm curious to what you said about the legality of everything. I am curious about what would have to happen with that. That's really interesting.
Because do you market it as now, is it a Season 3, or is it going back to, what was Jodie's last season?
13.
13, so now are we going on to Season 14? Like, I'd be curious about that. I could see them maybe calling it a Season 3.
If they're allowed to call it Season 3, they'll absolutely call it the Season 3. If they're not allowed...
Season 1.
Do you honestly want to know what I would do? I'd make a movie. I would make a Doctor Who movie. British made.
But then is that the end, or where do you go from there?
Get a new show from the movie. And make Edgar Wright direct it, just because that'd be fun.
So, but would it be shooty? Would it be
Sure.
Okay?
It would be whoever you want it to be. Because, like, to me, if you go back to season 1 right away after you just did it,
Yeah.
that's annoying. Like, that's going to ruffle feathers.
So
So, to me, if you took a 2-year break,
yeah,
you made a movie.
introducing the Doctor as a concept, this is the Sonic, this is the TARDIS.
Basically what they did in 96, but on a bigger scale and hopefully theatrical. Then do a show.
Season 1.
Then I think after that you can do season 1 again.
I feel like at this point, if they have to keep doing that, I feel like then you just start introducing colons.
Yeah.
Like this series is Doctor Who :
Return of the Daleks or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. And just do like mini series.
Yeah. Fair.
Of one Doctor mini series, 6 up, mysteries in time and space.
Look, I think there's options.
Yeah.
I think there's options, but I think the preferred method is just keep season 3.
I feel like at this point, yeah.
Yeah, if they can legally. But yeah, what do you guys think about that? Let us know in the comments as we move on to the box office.
The box office.
Nick Iricchio, can you pull up our predictions from last week?
Sure, Dalton Burdett. You had Twisters number 1, Despicable Me 4 number 2, Inside Out 2 number 3, Longlegs number 4, Quiet Place Day 1 number 5. I had Twisters number 1, Despicable Me 4 number 2, Inside Out 2 number 3, Longlegs number 4, and Fly Me to the Moon number 5. So we only switched our fifth spots.
Correct. And I was right.
Hey,
boom.
Look at that.
Let's dive into the numbers, shall we?
These are the Sunday estimates. The final can be found on the bottom of the description of this video.
Bless you and your livestock, Nicholas. Twisters came in number 1, making $80 million. Fuck yeah, baby. That's what we're talking
That
about.
was off a projected,
55 to 60.
Oh, I thought it was 40-50.
No, it was the high end was 60.
Damn, 20 million over. Good for them.
Great for them. Great for them. And when we watched it in the critic screening, we were like, this movie's going to make money.
Yeah, thoughts on the movie aside.
Yeah.
Which, if you haven't watched, you can check out our review on the channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we both left the theater, mixed feelings on it, but we're like, fuck, this thing's going to make money.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I think it's safe to say that the movie star is back and his name is Glenn Powell. After this, right? Because even after Anyone But You, people are like, is it Sweeney or is it Powell? Immaculate did good for its budget, but it didn't open to 80 million in the middle of summer when movies weren't doing that well. So
well, here's the hard part about determining that, though, right? Because he's attaching himself to really good IP, right? Twister, or he's attaching himself to great directors, or in the instance of his next movie, he's attaching himself to The Running Man, directed by Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
So that one's sort of a twofold. But I think he is a box office draw, but I still think there's a little bit more to go of but are people excited about another Twisters movie? Are they excited about Edgar Wright's next movie? And Glenn Powell's just a pleasant addition.
How many in a row does it have to be? Because my counterpoint is Fall Guy, which coming off of Barbenheimer, in which you have Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling, people from that phenomenon in a new movie from a great director, which is technically an IP. It's not known as an IP, but it technically is. And it did not do very well.
I'm going to let's call it his next movie.
If his next movie opens significantly higher than it should.
Yes. Because I want to throw Hitman in there, but I feel like Hitman 1 wasn't theatrical. And I feel like people liked it, but it kind of flew under the radar in terms of the overall discussion.
It was Netflix.
But if we're talking like Anyone But You, bam, straight to Twisters, if he gets that next one, I'm on board.
Okay. Fair.
I don't know what came before Anyone But You that he did.
Top Gun. But that success wasn't because of him.
Yeah,
no.
You can't call that.
Everything from that has been because of Top Gun with him.
Yeah.
Moving on. Second place was Despicable Me 4, making $23.8 million, dropping 45% from week 2 to week 3. Inside Out 2 coming in third, making $12.8 million in its sixth week. God. Good call on us for saying that it would go third, by the way. Longlegs only dropped 48%, making another $11.7 million. That drop was way less than what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Good for that movie. And coming in fifth, A Quiet Place Day 1, dropping 46% from week 3 to week 4, making $6.1 million. Fly Me to the Moon came in sixth with $3.3 million, dropping 65%. It dropped 65%.
Turns out the movie stars are not Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson,
Correct.
but in fact Glenn Powell and Gru.
Yes. Correct. That is correct. That was a great setup, by the way. That was beautiful. I got to give that to you. All right, let's dive into the numbers more specifically, shall we?
Yes.
Twisters has now made $123 million worldwide already on a budget of $200. Did not know it cost that much. It should not have cost that much.
$450. I think it clears.
No, 100. It'll clear for sure. Right now, it's made 0.6 times its budget. This movie is going to do well. Next weekend, it might not have a big hold because of Deadpool and Wolverine, but I think it'll stay in the top 5 for some time.
Yeah.
Despicable Me 4 now has $574 million worldwide. I don't think it's quite on track to make $1 billion, but it will definitely get to the 700, maybe 800 range.
But it's just farther proving Despicable Me and Minions are just
money.
just tried and true. They just print money.
And that was made on a budget of 100. It has 5.7 times its budget back already.
And it's like third week.
Yeah. And let's move on here. Inside Out 2, $1.44 billion, baby.
God damn.
It might even get to like 1.6.
That's great.
Jesus
for
Christ.
them.
Made also on a budget of $200 million, has made 7.2 times that budget.
Pixar and Disney are breathing some sighs of relief. They needed a win like that.
Big time. Longlegs has now made $46 million worldwide. Great for them. I shared last week that I heard that the budget was 3. I can't confirm that, but I do know it was less than 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been told, by the way, this is really impressive. I've been told that it was less than 10 on the production, and the marketing, which was amazing,
Fantastic.
was a $10 million all digital.
Deceptive, but good marketing, I will say.
I don't think it's deceptive. Because like everything that they marketed was in the movie. They just left out stuff.
Oh, well, I think it's just more the tone and like it's the scariest movie in you're going in expecting.
That's not deceptive. That's just what people said. And if people say good things about the movie,
I guess
put it in there.
10 all digital.
10 all digital. That's crazy. Usually marketing budgets are way more than that.
And they didn't even have Nick Cage on a press tour.
No.
They said we don't need to.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. Everyone needs more Nick Cage.
Listen.
Well, I know that it's already breaking records over at Neon because I think Immaculate had an 8 million opening, and that was Neon's highest opening, and then this came out with 20.
Yeah.
So I think this is just on track to probably be
one of their highest grossing movies, yeah.
Well, didn't Neon do Everything Everywhere?
That was A24. Neon did Parasite.
Okay.
Which kept making money after its Oscar win, so
yeah,
we'll see how it goes there.
Mm-hmm.
A Quiet Place Day 1 has now made $241 million worldwide on a budget of what I believe, it's not listed here, I believe it was like 68, 70. So it's getting close there. Something I will say, right now it's about 20 million below A Quiet Place Part 2. It looks like it's going to be on track to pass Quiet Place Part 2, but it won't quite get to Quiet Place Part 1, which is like 335 worldwide. But it looks like it's on pace right now to at least reach A Quiet Place Part 2, or it will get close. So it'll be around there. Fly Me to the Moon has only made $30 million worldwide on a budget of 100. Oof.
Not great.
Not great. I really thought it was going to have a bigger hold than that. Let's see. Bad Boys, Ride or Die has now crossed 388. Looks like it might even be able to get to 400 million, which would be very good for them.
That would be.
Big time. And lastly, Maxine has now crossed just $17 million worldwide, but it is the highest grossing of the two movies, and I believe the budget was, I want to say it was also under 10. I don't know exactly what it was, though. But so profitability might be in question, but it is the highest grossing of the three movies, so, good for them on that.
Mm-hmm.
And Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1. Let's just look at that for fun, shall we?
With it.
Worldwide, 30 million. Makes sense. They pulled the second one for August.
Yeah.
So that is a shame. But here's the fun part of the show, Nicholas. Here's where it's going to get interesting, because I am going to make you go first.
Oh, boy.
Predict next week. Dude, this is going to be hard.
Here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that's going up
The
against?
only thing I see opening with it is a movie called The Fabulous Four, and it looks like a Shonda movie.
Oh, that's the one with Susan Sarandon. I saw that advertised.
Yeah.
So Longlegs made 10 this week.
Longlegs made 11.
11. So 50 drop would be 5.5. I don't think that it would have enough juice to take out. All right, I'm gonna go Deadpool Wolverine.
Wow, shocking.
I'm gonna go Twisters.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go Despicable Me. I'm gonna go Inside Out. And I'm gonna go Longlegs.
Okay.
Because Oddity, that new one's out, and it didn't crack anything.
No,
So
it made less than $1 million.
I've heard great things about it, though.
Same.
I am interested in checking it out.
Me too.
So yeah, Deadpool, Twisters, Despicable Me, Inside Out, Longlegs. Hit us with it.
Let's make it interesting here.
Go on.
I'm making a bad decision doing this. I want this to be known. But I do think it's possible that this happens.
Hit me with it.
When I worked at the movie theater,
Mm-hmm.
there were many occasions, one of them being for Logan, actually, where people came to the movies, a pack of 16-year-olds, who were not old enough to see Logan. So what did they do? They bought tickets for the nearest PG-13 movie. I'm doing the same thing as you, but I'm putting Quiet Place in number 5.
Okay, so to confirm, Deadpool, Twisters, Despicable Me,
Mm-hmm.
Inside Out, Quiet Place. Now, what would it... Because those were... Longlegs and Quiet Place were 4 and 5 this week, respectively.
Yeah.
How close were they this week?
Longlegs was 11, Quiet Place was 6.
Okay, so you think that Longlegs is going to take a bit of a drop? Or you just think that Quiet Place is going to get up?
I think Quiet Place is going to have a strong hold.
Gotcha.
Because people are going to go to the movie. It's going to be a pack of 16-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Watch, I'm going to be so wrong next week. But pack of 16-year-olds are going to get dropped off by their parents because parents don't give a shit. They're going to take them to the movie. They're going to go Deadpool and Wolverine. And they're going to go, we need your IDs. And they're going to cause a fuss because they always fucking do. And then they're going to be like, well, you can't see it. And they're like, all right. No 16-year-old who wants to lose their friends is going to go Despicable Me 4 or Inside Out 2.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't see Longlegs either.
But do they just end up at Twisters?
They could.
Mm-hmm.
But
May not have seen the original Twister, may have seen all the Quiet Places.
I think they already have seen Twisters.
Mm.
And I think it's going to be a situation of, well, that new Quiet Place is out because A Quiet Place is more of a horror movie than Twisters is.
Yeah.
And when you're 16, it's either let's get away with the raunchy comedy or let's get away with the horror movie. And the horror movie is PG-13, so they can go see it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think there's a chance that they go to Twisters instead. It's a great point that you've just made. But Twisters might also be sold out. Quiet Place won't be.
It's a gamble.
Listen, I'm stretching here.
It's a gamble. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I think it's a gamble.
Yeah.
Because you have to look at, right, so Twisters,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think that's an obvious one there. You got to remember, Minions had that whole memification.
Yes, but
the
this
suits
one
and everything.
this one didn't have it,
It
though.
didn't, but it might be like an ironic viewing,
That's fair. That's fair.
you know? But I could be wrong. I think Longlegs might hold still. That's why I'm keeping it.
Listen, I hope it does. But it would have been boring if I picked the same thing as you.
No, I agree. Listen, I agree, and I like that you at least have like a story behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Because half the time when I don't want to agree, it's just like a wild ass gamble. While this is a wild ass gamble, I think there is some validity to the points you're making. I just feel if the gap between Quiet Place and Longlegs this week was a little closer than it was, because they're 5 million apart this week.
Yes.
If we were in the 3s, maybe.
I want to say they're 5 million apart, but their drops were the same.
Mm. It's a gamble. Your payout would be quite huge if we were in Vegas.
Yeah.
But we're not. We're here.
No. Yeah.
In
No,
your
listen,
house.
it's probably not going to happen. But, it is what it is.
I like it, though.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. If you want to predict the box office for the week, please comment it down below. And if you're right, we'll shout you out on the show. We did have someone comment last week, and unfortunately, they just came shy. Wonder who that was.
We don't know. We don't get to shout them out because they got it wrong.
That's so funny. But anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time.